Good morning. That's nice and loud, isn't it? So I have the honor of doing a quick introduction for our prestigious speakers here today. So my name is Steve Towler. I'm from AHRC New York City, and AHRC New York City had really the privilege about 5 years ago. Jennifer Shull, who is on my left, the far left, who is the Executive Director of Disability Affairs, New York City Department of Social Services, somebody that I've known throughout my career at HRC in New York City, doing similar related work. She switched from a private nonprofit to work for the city of New York and was in a very, very interesting role. And I'm going to explain that in a second. And then my colleague, Michelle Shapiro, who's one of our Assistant Directors of Employment and Business Services at AHRC New York City, is here to kind of really fill you in all about PI. And you'll learn more about that momentarily. But about 5 years ago, Jen Shull kind of asked to meet with us at AHRC New York City because she had an idea. And the idea was about opening up internship opportunities with city government, right? And you go, what's the big deal, right? That doesn't sound so complicated. But I've been working in New York City for over 30 years. And one of the hardest places to get people employed in was city government, right? And New York City has a lot of different opportunities. So it really was like an aha moment. If we can get in the door at all these different New York City departments and agencies, opportunities for people with disabilities that we're supporting could really expand exponentially. And that's what we were really excited about. So we put our heads together, and I'm not going to steal their time, they're going to get into this a little bit. We wrote a nice proposal, we got it funded, public-private partnership, and it kind of rolled out in the beginning of COVID, but COVID didn't slow it down. It kind of kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And we're so proud of it today. It's kind of finding its way out of New York City into upstate New York, and they're going to fill you in all those details. But without further ado, I want to turn it over to Jen and Michelle.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Steve. Such a generous, nice introduction. So I am Jennifer Shull. I'm the Executive Director of Disability Affairs for the Department of Social Services in New York City. And my little unit supports both the Human Resources Administration and the Department of Homeless Services in New York City in serving people with disabilities. That combined staffing is close to 16,000 staff, and we have hundreds of provider agencies who provide many of these services. So when we talk about employment for people with disabilities, we know that the rate hovers around 30% for working age people with disabilities. How do we move that needle? How do we change the way people feel about hiring people with disabilities? That's the tough question. That's the question we face. And we know the data. We know it's worth it, right? We know that people will be successful, right? But we also know that there's fear, and we know that people think, oh, it's going to cost me a lot of money, and what if I don't know what to do with this person? What if it doesn't work out? What do I do? There's all those challenges. So the Partnership for Inclusive Internships actually challenges that. It gets people in the door. And as Steve said, when we were first funding this program, when we were getting started, I had gone to a foundation that I'd worked with before I came to government. And they said, we love this idea. Meet with 3 agencies that we already fund to do employment, and AHRC was one of them. But all 3 agencies we went to said, we can't get in the door. We can't get in the door of government. And so this is moving the needle. This is a program that really is a game changer. So we're going to tell you about it. Inclusive Internships, partnered with AHRC, but we take people with all disabilities from all over. Next slide. Just kidding. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the background, the goals, the program overview, and tips for what's worked, what we found out worked. Let me keep going. Well, wait, first of all, let's go back. These are wonderful interns we've had. This is earlier on, this is pre-pandemic, and several of them are employed and doing really, really well. Next slide. Okay, I'm actually gonna hand it over.
So this is a little bit about AHRC and who we are. So, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this wonderful program today. It was when Jen came to speak with us about this wonderful idea about creating an inclusive internship program with city government, we were all like, yes, and Steve already kind of pointed out that it has been so hard for us to kind of get in the door. Just to give you a little background, AHRC has been around in New York City since 1949. So we're 70 plus years old, and it was founded by a parent who basically said, I don't want to put my child in an institution, there has to be something better. So she already was, started the idea of, wait a minute, what can we do better for people with disabilities and really move that needle to helping them become more independent and inclusive in our communities. So instead of going into, an institution, she created a play group for her son. And word got out and people really wanted to be a part of it, and with that AHRC was born and continues to grow. Since 1949, AHRC provides numerous services in all parts of a person's life, from residential, recreational, camping, day programs, clinical programs, and what Steve and I work for is employment programs. So our acronym has changed, right, since the 1949. We now stand for advocacy, humanity, reimagination, and change. We support over 15,000 people in New York City, and in our employment program, we support over 2,000 people annually. And PI is one of our very exciting programs, but we have multiple programs. So we really try to meet the person of, where they're at. Are they transitioning from high school? We have transition programs. We have vocationally focused programs. Are they interested in, culinary and custodial? And we have, credentialed programs in those areas, as well as training people to become DSPs. So we have a whole variety of pathways to employment. And so today, we're going to focus on PI, and so I'm going to hand it over to Jen.
Thanks, Michelle. Just want to say, first of all, there's somebody missing today, and that's the coordinator of the PI program, Hannah Milson, who is unbelievably wonderful, and she's 8 months pregnant. So she just did not make the trek, but we are representing her and proud to do it. Can you go back? One of the people in that photo was a stellar intern with us, and they loved her so much that she's now the receptionist for the commissioner's floor at the Department of Social Services. Next slide. Okay, so local government is the largest employer in the New York City region, right? So again, this goal was to get people in the door. We talk about DEI all the time, but I always say you can tell people, but you really have to show people. And so I'm going to just tell a quick story. When we first started, I was in a meeting, and a high-level person at DHS said to me, was talking in the meeting, and she said, we just, I can't get past this. It's going to take us months to get this project done. I can't move on to it until this part gets done. And it's a lot of scanning, it's indexing, it's this, it's that. I don't know how we'll get this done. And I said, well, I can get you interns to do it. And she was one of the first few people who took on interns under the PI program. And she thought it would take 3 months to do the project, and it took our 2 interns less than 2 weeks to do the project. And so she had asked Hannah, she'd said, can you find something else to do? I will find other work for them. I love them. Let me find other work for them. But can you find something for them to do for a week or two? And so I sat next to the supervisor in a meeting, a management meeting, and I turned to her, I said, we've been thinking, do you think Shoshana could do this? And she looked at me and she said, Shoshana can do anything. I don't even understand why she has a job coach. It doesn't even make sense to me. She looked away and then she looked back and she said, this is why we're doing this, isn't it? I said, no, this is why we're doing it, right? This is how you change minds. This is how you open up the door, right? So next slide. So it's a partnership for inclusive internships, right? So there's lots of partners, right? We're partners with our supervisors, we're partners with AHRC, we're partners with our funders, we're partners with Access VR and with the Commission for the Blind. But we have a lot of agencies that provide us with this is a different slide. Okay. So we started out just with DSS, with Department of Social Services, as the source for all the internships. But after our third year of funding, we got funded to expand to other city agencies. So we're in the Parks Department, we're in HPD, we're in DOH. Actually, this past year, we also got funded to expand to state agencies. So we're now in New York State Department of Health, and we're about to get into New York State OMH. In the New York metropolitan region, moving up to Albany as things evolve. We're still looking for funding to broaden to the whole state, so it's coming to a theater near you. Next slide. Okay, so why pie? We say pie. And I think it's always got to be win-win. So for the interns, it's this wonderful opportunity to get their foot in the door, to get work experience, to get a reference, right? And potentially to get a job in government, or to just explore what your interests are, right? For our supervisors, it's an amazing opportunity to get help. And notice we don't have the word disability in the name of the program, the Partnership for Inclusive Internships. We don't focus on the disability. We are all about, do you need help? You need help? We can help you. We'll find you somebody to help you. We'll give you a couple of people to interview. We think that they'll meet your needs because AHRC does an amazing job of screening those candidates. And so they get help for whatever project, but then the beauty of this program is that at the end of the internship, and by the way, it doesn't cost them anything because Access VR actually pays for their salaries, the intern salaries. So there's no challenge to them. It's like, oh my God, it's extra help. I can get this project I've always wanted done. But the beauty of it is at the end, frequently, we get the supervisor coming back to us and saying, how do I get this person hired? They're now indispensable to me. How do I get them hired? And that's a beautiful position to be in, and it's not me as the Executive Director of Disability Affairs saying, you should hire people with disabilities. It's me saying, well, you've got to look for the opportunities and see, do you have a temp position? Do you have a full-time position? You can use 55A, you can use 55B, but I'm not the advocate anymore. They are. That changes the ballgame, right? Did I? I also want to just say that the partner agencies that we have that refer the people in are wonderful partners with us because it gives the people they serve opportunities. And then Access VR, we're finally using this code, this funding code, that really helps them get people onto jobs. We never intended for Access VR to be a very strong referral source. We just thought, oh, they're going to pay once. But they became an incredibly strong referral source, also giving us a statewide award last year for the partnership. Our goals, basically, providing valuable work experience for people with disabilities, resources to government agencies and staff. Really, it's about changing a culture, right? And really, it's everybody knows what 55A and 55B is? Do you guys know? Anybody not know? Just, you can be considered for a job in city and state government if you meet the criteria for the job, even though you might not have taken a civil service exam, okay? That might typically be required. City and state has never met all the available positions. There are plenty of available positions that can be 55A and 55B positions. This is a perfect way to build a pipeline. Okay. who do we serve in this program? Who are our interns? And the beauty on the left side, you can see come very different racial backgrounds, all different, right? We also have had people that are gender nonconforming. We have had people from the LGBTQI community, so it's very diverse. And then it might look like the highest percentage. We've had 150 people come through already, right? Seems like the highest percentage is IDD and autism, but if you just add up all the other disabilities, it's more than 50% are other disabilities. So it could be somebody who's deaf, could be somebody who's blind, somebody with a physical disability, somebody with a psychiatric disability, somebody with health issues. We have had interns with the full gamut. Next slide, I think this is yours. Oh, okay, so we started way back. So again, as Steve said, it happened organically. I started an informal internship program at DSS, but then people started asking me for interns. And there were other concerns where people were, when I had somebody reach out to me for an internship and they were in graphic design or something, and so I passed it on to the people who did that, and it kept moving along, and then it came back to me, and it's like, well, they have a disability, they should work in the Office of Disability Affairs. And I'm like, oh, we don't get it. We need to change. So the combination of people asking me for interns, right, because it was like, this looks like a good idea, and having that happen, I knew you can't, if somebody has a bad experience, one of the supervisors, it's dead in the water for the future, right, for them. They're less likely to hire somebody with a disability. So I said, this has to be done really well, and I can't be the person, the full-time person to support the whole program. So I went to this foundation, the TAF Foundation. They funded us for 3 years in partnership with AHRC. AHRC's been a wonderful partner. They asked us to write a manual, which we have. If you would like it, we would love to share it with you, how it's done, how to be successful for this. As Steve said, COVID hit halfway through, and we only stopped for 1 month. We found a way to do it. Some people had to stop their internships because it was in person, public facing, but we found a lot of other internship opportunities. We looked for different types of interns who could work well remotely, and we kept going and we kept going, and we met all other requirements of that grant. After the 3rd year, they said, we'll fund you to expand to other city agencies, and now we are funded by another source, New York Community Trust, that is saying, get into those other city agencies, get into state agencies, and now also try and get it embedded into city and state government. So that's what we're working on. We're working on the funding for that, but we are starting in the capital region soon, right? And we are still expanding in New York City, right? Is this me? Is this you? I don't know the number. Okay, so the value of, so we actually, many of our interns go on to work, right? So I'm joking, this is hard for us because this is Hannah's presentation. So we just found out last night which slides we were doing. So bear with me. 38% of our interns go on to work for the organization who hosted the internship, and 57% of our interns go on to competitive employment. Those are great numbers. We're so proud of our interns. And I will pass it on to Michelle.
And I just want to add, a lot of interns use this as their college internship. So a lot of people who find an internship through PI are continuing their education, so that's why the number is 57, because a lot of people using it for experience, and as Jen said, to kind of explore what they're interested in, to continue their education and to add to their resume. So, what my part is to talk about is the program overview and how it works. So, what happens is, as we said, unfortunately Hannah couldn't be here today, and she is very involved with her assistant, Jen Carson, and they kind of reach out to a lot of different partners So the interns don't just come from AHRC. And that might be in a slide later, so I might be talking about information that you might see later on. But the interns come from a variety of different service providers, Access VR, CUNY Leads, which is a bunch of colleges in the city colleges. So they can come from Columbia, Pace University, so a whole variety of partners. Hannah sends out a job, so she works with the different city agencies on what internships they have. They create an internship description, and then she shares that with our partners. The partners then send interns that they feel would be a good fit for the internship program, and our team meets with all the interns and does an assessment and sends usually 3 interns to every single supervisor. So they have, people to pick from that they feel would be a good fit. And just to tell you, in the past 6 months, I think over 100 interns have shown interest and have been screened for a variety of different jobs. So you can see how large the interest is, so how many interns, and I think this month alone, like 30 internships.
I think there are 35 people in internships just this month, yeah.
So it is just exploding, the interest on both ends with city government as well as individuals who really want the internship opportunity.
Just talk about Louisa, do you want me to?
You can talk about, is she the one from the architect? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was a graduate architect student, and she needed an internship, and she has an arm and a leg prosthesis, and she worked in our shelter system, helping to assess accessibility features, and I really do think that it changed the team that she worked with, and they have a very different view of disability and accessibility and the kind of work that they were doing. She went on to an internship with AHRC, and she's now full-time employed and doing a wonderful job. Actually, she just switched jobs, but she's doing really, really well.
So, the other thing that PI does is we connect those dots, right? Of if somebody needs support and needs coaching, we'll have a coach available. But that's not always the case. So it's really individualized as to what the individual needs in order to be successful on that internship. We connect you with the funding, to provide those supports. So it really is a very seamless program. So it's next. That's the internship selection. So, as I actually had spoken to this slide already, these are some of our referral partners, right? So we work with CUNY, as I said, Columbia University as a mayor's office for people with disabilities, the Lighthouse, Access VR, New York State Commissioner for the Blind, Goodwill, ICD. So really, the list goes on and on of where referrals do come from. So what are popular internships in PI? Well, because it's city government right now, a lot of the jobs are in offices. And so as Jen had shared about that young woman who worked in the architecture office, we have people who work doing policy work and doing research. During the pandemic, and when Jen was talking about remote work, the Department of Homelessness needed data collected, during, and made sure that everybody was being served and needed somebody to help with that data collection. And so that's why they had a lot of PI interns doing that type of work. A lot of scanning and indexing, IT, so people who are interested in technology, clerical assistants, finance, so a lot of accountants, people going for their accounting degrees. So really a wide variety, and we're continuing to expand opportunities as we grow and work with more city agencies. So the level of support. So it's so well supported, and really the partnership, I can't stress enough the importance of developing partnerships with city governments, and our private and public, right? Entities working together We're working with all the different partners, all the different offices, and you could see the amount of support that the individuals get. They get on-site, so they're mentors on the internship sites, who really, it kind of happens organically. Like people were like, and as Jen started saying before, oh, is this gonna take more work? Is this gonna cost? How are we gonna make it happen? Once that intern walks in the door and the mentor starts working with them, they see the skill level, and it really, the support is there, and it is so seamless, and that's when we end up getting, well, we need another intern, and word of mouth, you know, they start telling other supervisors, and it really has grown through that. So, you know, experience. The other thing that we implemented, and this kind of was not part of our grants, but it also happened organically, made sense, was lunch and learns. You know, how do we support individuals not only on internships, but give them other tools to be successful in employment? So we have lunch and learns that focus on teaching individuals, how do I apply for 55A? How do I become a self-advocate? What does it mean to disclose or not to? You know, so helping them, what other career options are there? So we've created, and then we have guest speakers from all these different areas of benefits advisement, you know, so we have these lunch and learns, and all the individuals are invited and really get a wealth of information that we help them.
And they get to network with each other, which is also nice, which is fun.
So each intern, as we said, we don't just place the intern with the supervised mentor and say, that's it. We are directly involved. We have weekly check-ins, and we have more if needed. And also, as I had said, you know, we would have a coach if that is needed too. So whatever the individual needs to be successful, whatever the supervisor needs in terms of supports, to make it a win-win for everyone. So the grant, like Jen had touched on it. We have 15 minutes, okay. We're good, we're on. So the grant, it started out with a grant to pay for the program coordinators, marketing materials, you know, all those things that really can't be accessed through the other funding providers. And so we've found that that is invaluable, to have somebody who's directly involved and overseeing the full operation of the program. We meet weekly as a team to discuss, you know, what's happening, who's moving on, how do we continue to grow, what supports are needed. So that is continually happening. We meet monthly with even a larger team. So we have, as we said, different events that we support through the program. So we found it invaluable to really have a grant to kind of jumpstart that. As Jen had said, Taft Foundation was the foundation that funded us for the first 4 years, and now we have Community Trust. We still are figuring out, how do we make this land permanently? You know, we want it to make it sustainable. If you could see by the numbers of interest on both ends, how important and how valuable in really creating opportunities and changing the workplace culture this program has become. And, you know, we're looking for, obviously the state is expanding it. No, it's okay. I mean, lessons learned. I think this is.
Yeah, I also just want to mention, one of the things that Hannah and Jen did, because we had so many internship opportunities available, they developed a website where potential interns and provider agencies could just go in and see what was available, and there's always a lot available throughout the city. So that, I don't know if it's on there. Is it on? No, on the website, is it on? We're going to give you some fact sheets if you'd like them after, and you can just contact us. So we feel really strong. I got to be honest with you. This program, it is on there, good. This program brings me joy every single day. I work in city government, work with a lot of very vulnerable people, both in shelter and coming to get cash assistance, coming to get Medicaid, coming to get SNAP. The people who reach out to me are really challenged with what they're trying to receive. This is such a wonderful thing for me, and it's really served to be a wonderful thing for our agency. As we talk about changing culture and all that, I have to say that it's so nice to have my colleagues be so proud of this program, so proud of what we're doing. We've been written up in newspapers, we've been on TV, and it's just this wonderful press that makes people, even if they haven't had an intern, just feel good about our organization and about how we are opening up to people with disabilities, and we are becoming more diverse, and we are open to this. So it's been really wonderful. So in the how-to, right, we're going to give you these flyers. If you're in the New York metropolitan region, you can reach out to us. We would love to have you as a referral source. If you know anybody who would want to be an intern, please come. It is coming to the Albany area soon, and we hope that it will evolve throughout the state. And you heard Salon say this morning from Access that this is something that is a goal of the state. The governor did mention it in her State of the State document that she put out. This is a wonderful tool to move things forward. So if you're looking to do it in your region, if you want to know how to make this successful, it's about building champions within the organization where the interns are going to be. So I was the champion. We had people throughout our agency who also really bought into it right up front, that were at high levels. We were able to speak at senior staff meetings, and we said, listen, I'm not forcing this on anybody. It's a gift. You're going to get some help. Let us talk to your teams. Let us talk directly with people who might want to supervise. And that's what happened. We went on tons of presentations to different departments and just said, do you need help, right? And we found supervisors that were really wonderful and really could move things forward. And we made sure there was enough work. Honestly, it's not just taking somebody on. It's not doing it because it's the right thing to do or a good thing to do or charity. It's, you need help, this person needs experience, we're making the match, and it's good for both of you. Next slide. Oh, I have it. Again, win-win. I've talked about this all the way through. It's got to be win-win. Everybody's got to benefit from it, and that's what the beauty of this program is. It's win-win for everybody. The HR department has to be involved because it's onboarding, it's all the back-end stuff, and sometimes it's interesting. It can be one of the biggest challenges getting into agencies is that you might have a champion in the agency, but the HR department has to move things forward. So you have to get HR on board really, really quickly.
And what I was going to add to that is that's where the value also of having a coordinator assist helping move, because it is complicated in terms of all that onboarding. And even after the onboarding, someone's an intern and they're offered that job opportunity, you know, we actually continue working with the individual, helping them through that onboarding. So even, you know, more than just the internship, but that actual employment opportunity in city government takes some work.
And by the way, it took some time, but there are different places that our HR department sourced interns from, and that was on the internal website, the intranet. But during the pandemic was when we finally got them to put our program up there as another place that we sourced interns. And the pandemic really moved things forward for us, because I think at that point, 40% of the because so much dried out, all the other sources. So I think 40% of the interns during the pandemic that were at DSS were from PI, which is wonderful. And that's how it got up there on the website. And then partnering with State VR, I'm going to let you talk about that.
Yeah, so we've, we have a VR contract. I'm sure most of you who are in here with service providers do. In order to have the intern paid through VR, you do have to be authorized for I think it's the 964, so it's the paid internship. I think that's what it is. No, it's not. I think it's 964, but there's so many different, access authorization codes. But there is a code that allows interns to be paid through Access VR, so we assist if they're not already enrolled in Access VR, we help with the eligibility. And on the flip side, Access VR is one of our referral sources, so we, send them open opportunities and they refer candidates. So, it's reciprocal, win-win on both ends, but it is important, and they are a very valued partner in this whole process. And as Jen had mentioned, Salon had even mentioned us during her speech today. And all right, so so then I think that's still you. That's still me. So I actually had said part of this before, so we do pre-screen all the candidates for the potential opportunities. We usually send 3 or 4 interested candidates who would like that opportunity and we feel would be a good fit to the supervisor, and then it's really up to the supervisor manager to kind of meet with the individuals and see who would be a good fit for the internship opportunity. And we're with them 100% the whole way on that whole process. But it seems to have really worked out well. I think in over 150 internships, I could only remember one that didn't work out. So that's how valuable the pre-screening process is.
Absolutely, it's so critical, and it's like a gift to say to a supervisor, look, especially in government, I don't know if any of you know, but a lot of times you have to hire 1 in 3. The next 3 people on the list, you gotta pick one of the 3, right? So here we are saying for an internship program, we're gonna give you 2 or 3 people. If none of them work for you, if you don't think that they're great, we'll find you somebody else. We'll keep doing it. And so it just gives them that opportunity to choose, right? And by the way, there are not all. We have a lot of really very strong interns that interview well, but there are a lot of interns based on their disability that it's a challenge. That interview is a challenge. And they don't necessarily do well in the interview, but the supervisor is willing to give them a chance based on the report that comes from HRC, and look, it's 3 to 4 months part-time, why not? I'm gonna give it a try, and then that person does really, really well. There are a lot of people that are in jobs now in city government that never would have gotten in the door through that interview, the traditional interview they would have gotten. So, yeah.
And I know we don't have a lot of time. I don't know if there's any takeaways, but
the last one, I think, that you've already
yeah, we've already talked about. So, I know we only have a few more minutes, but if any of you have questions, and as Jen had said, this honestly makes me happy every day too, and all of us, because it really is a program that has proven success and really changing lives and changing culture within city government and hopefully more businesses as we continue to grow. So if any of you have any questions?
Questions?
It's a very cost-effective program.
Yes.
Really, I'm serious. It's a really cost-effective program to put people forward in their lives.
We got a question?
I am in DMNA, it's a Division of Military and Naval Affairs. It is a completely different agency than regularly state agencies. So my question to you is, have you had any veterans apply to these internships? That's one. And the second one, how we are hoping to expand our accommodations in the agency and DEI, given that in the Army and in the military is very different. And so how can we implement accommodations for the potential of having veteran interns in our agency?
It's a great question.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think we just have to start the conversation. I'm not as educated, in the area of working with veterans. But I know that there are supports and initiatives out there that I think we should tap into and start a program for veterans in city government, in military, and state.
It feels like a
Separate
conversation
yeah.
in some ways, but
Because
it's
it's-
one that we'd love to have.
Absolutely.
And honestly, the accommodations that, we have 150 people come through. It was so easy to do all the accommodations. There was nothing that was really challenging for any of the agencies to do. It was really a wonderful experience. So I think it's not as challenging as you might think, so.
I think the opportunity is there, we just gotta make it happen. Yeah.
Hi, thank you so much. This was really helpful. One question that I have is, I find it so interesting what you were talking about, the pre-screening process, about how typically people with disabilities may have more trouble in a standard interview process. So we want to help that not be a barrier for them to get a job. Can you talk about some of the things that you have found and that are like implemented in that pre-screening process to sort of like get past that, way that it's always been, and say, hey, these people, they maybe not be able to do the standard thing, but they're qualified. What have you found and what things are implemented?
So we meet with each of the individuals and, really find out what experiences have they had or not, what are their interests. So a lot of the individuals who come to us, might have had some work-based learning experiences in school. A lot of them are coming through different school programs. So we really do a very deep dive into what their interests are, what their abilities are, and what their experiences are, right? And we share that with a potential manager. So we talk about, the interview is not the focus, right? It's what that person really can do and wants to do and needs the experience to build on their skills. So that's how.
The person that, absolutely true, the people who do the screenings, Hannah has an education, a special education degree, and she worked in employment before. And Jen Carson, who is the assistant coordinator, is a social worker. So they really work with the person to be prepared for an interview, right? What to highlight, what to say, but they also, this is different from the real world, right? They prepare the supervisor. They say, there are some challenges, and they actually don't share the disability. They don't. At no point do we say this is the disability, unless the person is self-disclosing, that's fine. But they say, here are some challenges that you might have in the interview, but we want you to see these kinds of things, and here's how you can get the most out of this person in the interview. So it works both ways. Anybody else have a question? No? There probably aren't enough flyers up here, so if we could pass it out, but I'm just gonna say, if you want the flyer, come on up and get it. If you wanna just talk to us, oops.
Or you can even take a picture. That's what I do.
Take a picture of the flyer.
Take a picture of the
Absolutely.
flyer, and then you'll have the information. So
Yeah,
that's-
absolutely,
Trying to
absolutely.
reduce paper these days.
Yeah, and contact us, which we have the contact wasn't at the end of the slides, but you'll see it, Steve's taking a picture. Okay, but definitely just take a flyer, if not, just talk to us afterwards, we'll give you our cards and you'll be able to reach out to us if you wanna get started in your own area, okay? We'd love to talk to you. Good luck.
Yes,
Spread the
thank
word.
you. Thank you for coming. And